I'm going to show you how to use auto assemblies and live edit assemblies in Profile Builder 4 for SketchUp. The client here realized that we no longer are going to do glass on here because they really liked this cable rail staircase railing that we just put in the model here. And the challenge that I'm having right now is I didn't build this. So this railing I grabbed from the 3D warehouse. So now I need to make it my own. And an easy way to do that is to use assemblies. So previous to assemblies, I would probably take each piece and move and copy it for the new railing. Let me show you a different way that you can approach creating these assemblies in Profile Builder 4. First thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to select that piece and I'm going to copy it. And I'm going to close out because with auto assemblies, I need to be close and define everything from the origin point in SketchUp. So I need to go from here. And I'm going to draw just a basic ground, kind of bring that in the model, and I'm going to paste my object. And you can see sort of first challenge is wasn't kind of created nicely, or the axis was sort of flipped. So I'm going to rotate it. And then I'm going to position it relative to where I want it in place here. So I'm going to bring it down 8 inches and I'll bring it over maybe 1 inch or 2 inches. The benefit of auto assemblies is you don't have to build and understand all the spacing requirements and setback requirements and up and down sort of offsets, right? This here is what would take a lot of time. So when I've created setbacks, I usually kind of mess up a lot of what I need to put here. And I'm just kind of guessing, right? So this takes the guesswork out. You're defining it in SketchUp versus in the dialog. So I'll take this one, and before I do anything, I just need to make sure it's a component. And you can see right now, it's not. So that's kind of not good habit, right? This was from the warehouse. So you can see you get what you get. And I'm going to convert this to a component, and I'll call this component the post. And ideally, if I made this myself, I would worry and set more of where the inserting point of that is. And I'd set the red to be along this way, but I'm going to ignore that. And the reason is I don't have to worry about that in auto assembly. It's going to figure that out. So I'll click create. I'll move and copy this over 48 inches because that's my span that I can do. And then I need to create 2 profiles. One is going to be 4.5 by 1.5 inches. And the other is going to be a circle that is 0.125 and it is 8-sided, so 8S. So the reason for the 8 sides or creating an octagon is when this is extruded, it still looks like a cylinder, which is going to keep the polygon count low. The other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure my materials are set appropriately. So I'm going to use this oak material and I'm going to name this something so that I actually know it. So I'm going to call this gray. I'm going to select this shape here. By double clicking on it, I'm going to open the new profile dialog and I'm going to create a new profile called handrail. And then I typically like to place this bottom middle so that now when I build this, when I click build, I'm essentially building it how I want it to be. So I'm going to start at this point here and build it to there. Now, if I wanted that material set up to this, I'm going to select this member, and I should have done this before, but it's okay if you mess this up after. I'm going to set that to oak and have it pre-selected. I can click edit attributes of selected members. I can select all and then click apply. Alternatively, you could delete this, rebuild it, just make sure it's showing the oak. So here, that's good. Now I'm going to select the cable. I'm going to create a new profile. And I'm going to change that material preemptively to the gray material. And I'm going to go ahead and build this. So this time I'm going to go from the inside, from here, all the way across to here. I'll then take that, and this is where, let me zoom in a little bit closer. This is where building assemblies for me would take time, right? If I have cables, so there's like 8 or 10 of these that I need. And then I would have to make sure that I set each start and end position or the up and down offset. And, I don't know the math and don't want to do the math. So let AutoAssembly do that for us. So what we'll do, and close this out, we can take this one that we have, and I'm going to move it down 4 inches. That way there's a 4-inch space between. And because it's 1/4 of an inch in circumference, I'm going to move the next one down 4.25 as a copy. And then I'm going to type 8x to get 8 total copies. And that should be enough where we have that sort of nice spacing there. Now you'll notice I'm not worried too much right now about junctions and setbacks, but one thing I do want to fix, and let's actually redo this. So one little oversight, junctions. So most cable rails, when you build them, they're going to miter and continue at that edge. But for the instance that I have where this piece needs to stop and then start, I'm going to set the junction to be none. So I got that first one, and I wanted to set that correct on that first one. And then I'll copy that down. And I think that's 8x. Okay, now we're good. Because you'll see as we go to build that then, it's going to build it as 2 separate pieces. And I want that. You'll see why in a little bit. So I'm going to delete all of that so that now I'm left with just the elements of my assembly. In the assembly dialog, I'm going to click Auto Assembly from Selection. If you had an existing assembly up, it's going to ask you to save it. I'm going to click No. And now it's built our assembly. So phase 2 of this is testing this out, right? What's it now going to look like in our model? So when I click Build Assembly and begin to build this, you're going to see it start to generate, right? So I'm going to click to kind of build that and then press Escape. And as you can see, it didn't build it exactly how I wanted because certain parameters were not correct in the auto assembly. And what I typically would do previously is I would come in and sort of set whatever element that I need. And then I would kind of have all these little like fake builds over here to kind of test. And then I'd end up deleting those. You don't have to do that. The reason? Live edit. So in Profile Builder 4, we can now do a live edit. And the way we do that is we're going to select the assembly that's in the model. We're then going to right click and go to Profile Builder and click Live Edit Assembly. We don't have to save the current changes of what we have here because it's going to open up the parameters of the existing assembly. And now here we can notice we're in live assembly because this is highlighted. It is on. And this is honestly the fun part. So I'm going to go into the component and I'm going to turn on the spacing and I'm going to set that to 48 inches. And I'm going to also turn on the junctions, but there's still some nuances that I need to do for this particular model. So the junctions aren't setting how I want. And it really has to do with a left and right junction. So I'm going to go into junction setback, use advanced. And for the pre-left, I'm going to type in 2 inches and I need more than that. So let's try 6. So now we got that little spacing. Let's actually do 5. And then for the post, let's do 2. And actually, that's going to be too wide. So let's do 1. And we're trying to get that to be sort of mimicked. And this is where if I had more control and defined the parameters of this, it would show up a little bit better. I want to get this just a little bit tighter. So I'm going to do 4.5 and I'll do 0.5 because I want to make sure that there's not more than 4 inches between each piece. And right now I'm exactly at 4. So that's good. Now, other things that I can modify while I'm in this live edit are the end setbacks, right? So I could set now the component end setback is 3 inches. Maybe I set that to 5. And then the handrail. So I go to profile member and I'm on the handrail. Maybe the end setback to there is 1, which also then over here, remember when I built this, I didn't have any overhang on this. So that start setback, it defaulted to 3 inches based off of the post. When I set that to 2, that way I get a little bit of that overhang. And then you'll see there is a little air here where the cables are kind of showing through here. So I could go in and adjust the end setbacks for all of these, but the client's not going to see that. And I'm not going to spend the time to build that in this recording. So this generally works for what I need. And now I have it if I need to sort of build and modify again. One way to pull these in is to select all of them and using the extend or split profile member tool in Profile Builder. So I'm going to click on that and notice I can pre-select more than one profile. And as I hover my cursor over one of those, you're going to see that little arrow indication. And when I click on that arrow indication, that's my starting point. And then you'll see it can either extend beyond, or if I orbit, I'm going to try to use the point, and it's kind of hard to see the edge here because of the post. But if I infer to this point here, it will set that once I click. So I'm going to go ahead and click. So now that brings all of those profiles back to that point. So then on this one, I could select these, extend or split, click, bring it back to here. And then if I really want to tidy this up, like before that little air that I had over here, I could again select these, grab that point, which is a little tricky to see because I'm on a bunch of geometry. And if you don't see it, I could hide this real quick. That'll make it a little bit easier to see. So maybe I'll bring it back to there. I'll unhide and then bring it forward to there. So that's going to make it much more accurate, much more sort of correct in the way that I actually need to build this. The other way that you could think about that, if this is the condition and if you're building this a lot, in assemblies, there is a way to build that repetition as a span. And it just takes a little bit more nuancing and detail to get it right and accurate. So for me, I find it easier right now for this project where I'm probably not going to use this again or not in that type of condition. So building this way was enough to get me the desired results that I'm looking for. So let us know how you're using auto assembly and live edit assembly in Profile Builder 4. We'll see you on the next video. Be sure to subscribe to MindSight Studio's channel for more tips and tricks. You can also visit our website to find other extensions like Sketch Plus, Profile Builder, and Placemaker. Continue your SketchUp journey by watching one of our videos here on the right to learn more about what we offer. Thanks, and we'll see you next time.